Train, train, 16 coaches long. Train, train, 16 coaches long. Well, a long black train got my baby in gold. Train, train, coming round, round, train, train, coming round, round, well, it took my baby. Alright, so that's Elvis, the way Elvis played things. He didn't screw around, you know. And on today on his, what would have been his 87th birthday, 87, wow, 87 years old, January 8th, 1935, Elvis Presley was born, a twin. Jesse Garon, his brother, was stillborn, and a man who was a twin came on to be probably the most unique and world-changing entertainer the world has ever known. Arguably, find somebody different. I know there'll be people that'll say Michael Jackson, Sinatra. We can go down the list of people, but when there's been hundreds and hundreds of millions of people through the beginning of time, to be in the top 3, top 5, top 10 of all time, I mean, you've got greats out there, great entertainers, great writers, William Shakespeare, people that will go on through history and their names will be remembered, and Elvis Presley's one of them. And why is that? Because he brought something unique to the world. And there's a lot of Elvis impersonators out there, and of course I never think of myself as one of those. I think of myself not even really as a tribute artist. I'm just a really huge fan who loves the music. And the music, if you talk to most Elvis fans, the music speaks to them in a way that I think we understand how the music spoke to Elvis. And Elvis wasn't one to be so concerned about the lyrics to a song. And he went through his career feeling that he never really sang a worthwhile song. I mean, You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog, it's just not a song that has lyrics that are profound. But the song itself, it was a rock tune that you ain't nothing but a hound dog, just crying all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, just crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit, you ain't no friend of mine. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. I mean, that's just a song that when we play with our band, it just gets people up on their feet. It's like jailhouse rock. These are not profound lyrics, but the music touches you in a way that goes right through your body, from your head to your foot, and makes you get up and dance. And that's what Elvis was about. I mean, he didn't even understand what he was doing. His first time on stage, where he was going berserk and everybody was going crazy, he went backstage, and somebody said to him, you know, do you hear what's going on out there? And he's like, yeah, what did I do? And they said, I don't know, but get out there and do it again. Because he didn't really know. He was just out there and he wasn't aware of the way his body was moving. He didn't rehearse those moves. He didn't choreograph those moves. Not like today, where everything is choreographed. And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and we were talking about, you know, how the world has gone, you know, YouTube sensation, and everybody wants to go viral, and everybody's trying to put things out there in the world that will make them a star. So what are they doing? They're faking it. Years ago, there was a video about a girl who was doing a handstand in her apartment, and she fell over and knocked over a table, and this candle flipped over, and yeah, it was a very comical video, and my daughters showed it to me, and I looked at it and I said, that's staged. That's not really happening. And they said I was crazy. They said, that's clearly what happened. This person, I said, first of all, why would the person be filming themselves doing a handstand? But also it just reeked of being fake, and I don't know why I was able to pick up on it. And a year later, the person was on, I believe it was Jimmy Kimmel, and after it had, 50 million views or whatever, she came on and admitted that it was fake, and she staged it. And I think we live in a society right now where everything is staged. All right, so today what I'd like to talk about in conjunction with Elvis is music. And what music can do. I had dinner last night with a friend, and we were at this restaurant, and there was a band playing. And as certain songs come on, you just can't help but tap your feet. You can't help but sing along. And my friend actually turned to me and said, you know what? Music is so powerful. I think Elvis knew it. Elvis felt the music. And I'm going to keep this podcast very short because it's really my tribute to Elvis on his birthday years. 45 years Elvis is gone. He lived 42 years, so he's been gone 3 years longer than he actually lived. And his legacy is still incredible. My daughters are down in Florida right now, and they just sent me this picture. And they're at this event, and there's like, a dozen guys dressed up as Elvis. And they're down in Key West, and there's Elvis events. 45 years after the man died. And that's because of the music. The music, what it does, what it makes you feel from your head to your toes. And it wasn't about what was being said, like I said with Hound Dog, or it was that feeling. And we've sort of lost that a little bit with music. At least with rock and roll. Elvis didn't write any music. Frank Sinatra didn't write any music. They were performers, and writing music is very difficult. And Paul McCartney wrote a bunch of hit songs in his career, and John Lennon, and Springsteen, and Barry Manilow, and Neil Diamond, and a lot of these guys were songwriters. Some of them, Neil Diamond was a songwriter before he was a performer. But suddenly in today's world, like every country artist is a songwriter, and maybe they are, maybe they're writing all these songs, but also there seems to be a manufacturing machine behind a lot of these songs that makes you wonder, is it all being choreographed? And it makes it harder to break into the business, because if you're not, as I say, the same thing with filmmaking, if you're not in, and if they are creating a certain bubble and you're not in that bubble, you can't break in. When Elvis came on the scene, there was no rock and roll bubble, so he just created it. And maybe that's what people have to do now, like in the filmmaking world. I was talking to another friend of mine yesterday, and we realize it's very impossible to break into the bubble, so we want to do sort of what Elvis did, and make your own bubble. And it's one of the hardest things to do, because everybody tends to follow the trend. So they tell you how to do things, they tell you how to make a film, they tell you how to make music. If you want to have a hit, do this. And then everybody's doing that. So you're not unique. So the only way to really make it is to do what this man did and be unique. And when you do that, you're going to be faced with obstacles and people telling you you can't do that because it's not what's going to sell. And it's the hardest part of all of this, is to break out, be different, be natural, and be true to who you are. That's why it's almost impossible to do, and why these icons become who they are. Because they are different. They don't try to be different. They are different. They're naturally gifted. They come along at the right place at the right time. And they're a gift to us. And whether you like the music or whether you don't, as artists that I'm not a big fan of, but I can recognize the talent and the ability and the gift that they bring to their audience. So with that, I just want to say I'm not a big fan of posting happy birthdays to dead celebrities, and people post on Facebook happy birthday to people who have been gone a long time. I don't think Elvis is looking at Facebook, and he's probably not watching this podcast, but I do want to say thanks for all the music and all the years and all the great tunes. It would have been very interesting to see the music that Elvis would have put out if he had survived at least even another decade. You got to think that the jumpsuits, the Vegas era Elvis, he wore the jumpsuits. But that was coming to an end. He wore the cape with the jumpsuits, I think, from 1971 to 1974, and then he stopped. And they got to believe that the jumpsuit era was going to come to an end too. And the world will never know what Elvis would have done next, because the 50s Elvis is different from the 60s Elvis, and that's different from the 70s Elvis. And the world was robbed of the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s Elvis. But anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next podcast soon. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright now, mama. That's alright now, mama. I know I have a lot of noise in the background. It's my dog drinking water and the boiler comes on.